Corey is not here. He's in California this week. He's getting ready to go to the 49ers game this weekend. Shout out to him. Hopefully he has safe travels. Hopefully you all had a good week. We got a nice... it's probably going to be a little shorter because I'm not used to talking to myself without people bouncing off of ideas and stuff like that. I probably won't be able to talk for that long by myself, but I figured it's better to get something out than to just do nothing for a full month because I was sick, then my kid's been sick, and then he's not going to be here, so I just thought it'd be a good idea to get an upload out, get something. It's been 21 days since we last did this 3 weeks, so I just felt like it would be good to get stuff out there. It's been a while, so just want to go over a couple things with you. I do have some old stuff I want to... Not the main thing is, let's be honest, we know how I feel about Tom Brady. He gets way too much credit for everything, and we're going to talk a lot about that in Bullshit Get Bad Size later. But also, I wanted to go for an example of what he did a couple weeks ago against Indy. Now, he got a lot of credit for a game-winning drive. Well, Tom Brady does it again, a game-winning drive against Indy. And I've got the play sheet here of what he did. Let me see your screenshots. All right. Of what he did in this was his game-winning drive here. Let me see if I can find... What? Oh, no. Maybe I don't have it. I definitely thought I had it. I took a screenshot of all the plays he ran a couple weeks ago against Indy. Here it is. Okay, here it is. Yeah, I do have it in my hair. So, first thing he did was a short pass, was 3 yards to Mike Evans. Then it was a short pass to Chris Godwin for 8 yards. Then there was a false start penalty. Leonard Fournette ran for 11 yards, 2-minute warning. Tom Brady threw for 6 yards, so we're up to 6 plus 3 is 9 plus 8 is, 17 total passing yards. Tom Brady short pass. Leonard Fournette takes it 13 yards, so we'll give him that and call it 30 yards total. Leonard Fournette then runs it for 8 yards, timeout. Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin runs an end run for 3 yards, and then Leonard Fournette runs it in from 28. So basically what I'm trying to say is Tom Brady gets a lot of this credit for a game-winning drive when it was short pass, Leonard Fournette, screen pass, end around, Leonard Fournette touchdown. And the amount of credit he gets for that short yardage stuff is really annoying, which he got more credit for this week that we'll talk about here in just a second. Oops, I accidentally closed my notes here. Let's see, we got the Patriots beating the Bills by only running 3 times. Super impressive. Running 3 times. They ran like 40 times. They only threw 3 times. But that's a couple weeks old now. We've all kind of been over that. Let's actually talk about something more current a little bit here. The NBA average for the for the league is actually down this year. The 3-point average is actually 34%. Which is the lowest, 34.7%, which is the lowest it's been since LeBron's rookie year. And LeBron is shooting 34% right now from 3. And some people will have you believe that he's a terrible 3-point shooter and that he should stop taking so many threes a game. But anyway, so now I'm going to talk about the NCAA coaching moves. Again, I know this is kind of old stuff, but we haven't been able to have a chance to talk about it with me and you guys. So first, I'll start with Brian Kelly, the Notre Dame coach who now coaches LSU. I'm a Notre Dame fan. If you watch the podcast, you know I'm a Notre Dame fan. My whole family's Notre Dame fans. Been that way for a long time. I get the move. I get both sides. I'm kind of in the middle personally. The outrage makes sense to me because it felt like he was quitting on his team, and in a sense he was. And it felt like he was abandoning the ship when he felt like people felt like there was more he had to do at Notre Dame. But I mean, if you really think about it, the season was over. They had 1 bowl game left. But for example, Kyle Hamilton, the safety, who's going to go top 5 in the draft, is if his combine, if he shows out at the combine, he's going to go top 5 in the draft. At worst, top 10. He's going to be a great player in the NFL at the next level. Harrison Smith type, except with more range. Kyle Hamilton's not playing in the bowl game, and no fans are mad about that. I mean, some are, but the ones I interact with most often don't seem to have a problem with it. And my question would be, is it okay for him to abandon his teammates and go to the NFL, but not for Brian Kelly, who got a better opportunity, to go to LSU? I don't think LSU is a better job than Notre Dame. That's not true. LSU is a better job than Notre Dame because the school requirements are easier to get into. The recruitment base, because that southeastern area, the base is going to be much easier to get people. to get high quality athletes to go there. It's not cold like in South Bend in the wintertime, so you don't have to like sell players on that stuff. And I feel like, what more do you have to accomplish? Yeah, he didn't win a national title, but I'm going to be honest, Notre Dame's not going to win another national title, I don't think. They don't get the players at the same level that these Alabamas and the Georgias do. Georgia had 9 first. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. They had 9 first-team not first-team All-Americans, 5-star recruits who were 5-star at one point in their career from freshman to senior, or juniors, I assume. They have 9 on their defense. There's 11. 9 of them were former 5-star recruits. The entire Pac-12 has 7. So the level of talent just isn't going to come to Notre Dame. And Notre Dame will always consistently be good. But I think peaking a couple years ago in 2012 against Alabama, I think that's as high as Notre Dame can go. I think whenever you put them on a field with these top-notch teams, Clemson beat them by 27, and then they lost to, who else did they lose to? Was it Clemson one year? And I honestly can't remember the other year. It might have been Georgia or even Alabama. But Notre Dame just doesn't have the athletes. And I feel like that he made the right decision for himself. I think Kelly's an amazing coach, and I think that with similar talent, maybe he can't beat Nick Saban or Dabo or Kirby Smart at Georgia. Maybe he can't, but he hasn't been given the fairest opportunity because the talent level's been so different. So while I'm sad that he left because he's a great coach, he's the all-time winningest coach at Notre Dame, and especially I think breaking that record this year made it easier for him to decide to leave. I think that it's going to take him some time at LSU. I don't know what their program looks like right now, but I don't know what Ed Orgeron left around. But I think Kelly will be probably 2. I mean, he'll probably be 3 in that division just next year. He's an amazing coach. I wish him nothing but the best. I'm sad that Notre Dame lost him, but at the same time, the new hire, Freeman, I think. I'm really excited about him. The players love him. Brian Kelly said that's the guy. Hire him. There's a lot of positivity around him, so I would love to see him come out and win this bowl game to kickstart us into next season. But again, there was nothing wrong with what Kelly did. The season was over. They weren't making the playoff. It was almost impossible for them to make the playoff. I know they were at 6 or whatever, but they weren't going to get into the top 10 because Alabama and Georgia had to play each other, and the loss wasn't going to knock either of them out, I don't think. So they weren't going to make the playoff. It was the end of the season. I think it's okay that he ended up moving on, and again, for a better opportunity, for a little bit more money, I think it was okay. I think the way he left is better than the way Lincoln Riley left. For those of you who don't know, this is just me. I'm just gonna give you my opinion on it. Lincoln Riley left in a much more shady way because Oklahoma was the number 2 team in the country starting out this season, and then after they lost, they had a couple close games to start, and then they lost a couple months back, at the end of the fall, and then all of a sudden weird things started happening. Like they pulled Spencer Rattler, who, granted, I haven't been as high on as a lot of people. I know Mel Kiper and a couple of them guys had him going number 1. He was the number 1 projected pick or the number 1 prospect to win the Heisman this year. I didn't see that kind of level. I mean, he's talented for sure, and Oklahoma's a talented team, so I'm sure that helps him look good. But he never impressed me really, and not that I fucking matter. But then they benched him for a true freshman. And then then Lincoln did some shit where he would put the Caleb Williams, the true freshman, in, and then he pull him for Spencer, and then they flop back and forth, and he was weird. He wasn't running the ball. The defense was playing terrible. It kind of felt sabotagey the way he left, and then he just kind of like dipped. And their season wasn't over. I don't believe. I think they had a game or 2 left when he decided to call it quits. And then he took everybody, his whole coaching staff, strength and conditioning coaches, trainers, essentially. He took everybody and went to USC. Again, USC is a way better job than Oklahoma. I'm not arguing that point. Southern California, again, the recruiting base is going to be much easier for him. If Lincoln Riley is what people think he is, he's going to do amazing things out there, and USC will be back to a top 5 program next year, or probably 2 years. But I think the way he left was way more shady. I personally felt like he was benching Spencer Rattler. Like, he knew he was leaving ahead of time, so he benched Spencer and was trying to get him to enter the transfer portal so he could follow him and so he could have his quarterback at USC. Now, Spencer Rattler did end up transferring, and he did go to USC, but he went to the South Carolina. He went to University of South Carolina, not Southern California. So I was half right. He went to USC, just not technically the USC I had thought he was going to go to. But again, I think what Lincoln did was way more shady, leaving nothing for the new coach, and he didn't leave anything for the program, for the kids that were already there. And so I think that was worse. I think Brian Kelly left in a way that set them up for success and not failure, and I think that's a big part of it. And again, it's a business at the end of the day. The biggest issue and the reason that it's so gross is because college football has the recruiting window, and Kelly and Lincoln, the day they signed was essentially the day they could go talk to recruits in home, and you can't pass that up at a new job because you might lose the recruit, especially early recruiting. It's more the NCAA's fault for being this being the rules being set up this way, so that the coaches have to lead this way is kind of what I'm getting at. But overall, Kelly's move was a little bit better. I don't think LSU's as good a landing spot as USC. When USC's at the top of its game, as we saw in the early 2000s, there's not a whole lot to compete with them. So we'll see what they do. I wish both of them luck. At the end of the day, I'm sad Brian Kelly left. But he had a great tenure. He took us to a national championship, so I respect him for that for sure. The other coaching change that actually happened most recently was Urban Meyer got fired. I thought he was going to get fired, but at the end of the year, there's kind of, why would you fire him with like a month left in the season? You might as well just let him finish it. Can't get worse. Except for there was an investigation into some allegations by Josh Lacob, I think is his name. Josh Lambo, the kicker former kicker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, accused Urban Meyer of kicking and cursing at him before practice during training camp. I guess Urban walked up, was cussing at him, doing this, that, and the other, make your kicks, blah, blah, and then he kicked him. Now, no report on, did he kick him hard? Was it a full roundhouse? Was it like a fucking tap? Like, hey, get your shit together type thing? Okay, I will be sure to mention that, babe. Thank you. Shout out to you for listening to me, by the way. 1 second, and then I will talk about Purdue. But so Urban Meyer, like I said, allegedly got kicked a player. No word again on how egregious the kick was. I'm kind of surprised he didn't get smacked in his mouth, but it is what it is. I'm surprised that Urban was so bad to begin with, but I think I was talking with my father-in-law about this today. He's not used to losing, and I feel like the losing was like getting to him. And once it got on a slide where he felt like he couldn't get it back, he sabotaged himself. I felt like he was trying to lose intentionally, and I think that started with the bar video. How do you lose a game in Cincinnati and then stay your ass in Ohio to go grind on a girl that's not your wife? Like, you ditch the team playing. So I feel like from that moment, he was sabotaging himself. He wanted to be gone, and I think that's pretty clear. There's no way, none of his interviews, none of his the play on the field was atrocious. You sat your starting running back because he fumbled, like you're Bill Belichick. Now, granted, Bill Belichick does that all the time. Sonny Michel just ended up not being on the Patriots and getting coach's decisions and not playing for the last year. And that was because he had a fumble problem. But the difference is Sonny Michel isn't as good as... Yeah, but he's usually asleep by the time we do the podcast. So that is a problem. But anyway, so I feel like he was sabotaging himself. And I definitely thought he was going to make it to the end of the season. I'm hoping they can get a young, maybe Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs would be a huge pickup for them. I don't know if he's going to be available, but that would be a good pickup for them. Byron Leftwich, if they can get him from Tampa, I think would be a good fit. He's been to Jacksonville. He's he was drafted to Jacksonville, so he knows the system. He knows what's going on down there. I think Byron Leftwich would be a good pickup for them. You definitely gotta get an offensive guy though. It's kind of funny. But you definitely gotta get an offensive guy in there and get Trevor Lawrence developed because he has so much potential, but the team around him is hot doo doo. So you might as well see if you can get that taken care of. Let me see what else I got in my notes. My wife did want me to say Purdue was ranked number 1 for like 2 weeks, I think, in basketball. They've got a great team going this year. They're 3 right now. They lost to Rutgers on a last-second half-court buzzer beater, which is sad, but it's good to see them playing well and being ranked that high. My father-in-law said the last time they haven't been ranked number 1 ever. They were ranked number 2 when Robbie Hummel was there. Not that Robbie Hummel, my friend, the actual Purdue basketball player, Robbie Hummel. But they had a good team that year. There was Robbie Hummel, E'Twaun Moore was on that team. Josh Jameson, something like that, was the center. Very good. I think all of them went to the NBA for a little bit. Maybe not Hummel because he did tear both of his ACLs, one after the other, so that was kind of sucky. But yeah, there was a good team then. I haven't got a chance to watch any of Purdue basketball. I might go to a game, though. That would be sick. They're doing really well this year. Hopefully they can continue that into March Madness, win the NCAA or the Big Ten tournament. That would be a great start, and get a top seed. I always write them in my brackets. Generally, they go past the first round on all my brackets, but that usually fails me because they kind of choke. But this year's going to be different. Maybe there'll be a Final Four team. Tree trunks for legs. What are you talking about? Robbie Hummel? That's why he tore both his ACLs because he got big legs. I don't know if that's true. Have you seen Saquon Barkley? Saquon Barkley tore his ACL too. Maybe you have a point. All right, so I don't know if you guys had saw a couple weeks ago the Pitt quarterback Pickett. I don't know what his first name is. Was running down the field, fakes a slide, which is super athletic, by the way. He fakes a slide and then runs into the end zone. And the commentary over the next week was this is super dangerous because if you go to initiate a slide, the defense has to pull up because if they hit you, it's going to be targeting, roughing the passer, all that shit. Unsportsmanlike conduct, I think, is that the actual penalty would be, and they can get thrown out if it's targeting. So they slow down. If the quarterback uses that to his advantage and pretends to slide, what's going to happen is, what would have happened, is the defense would stop pulling up and just start running through people. So then when the quarterback's actually going to slide, he's going to get fucked up because some other jackass pretended to do it. So the NCAA, I personally think, did the right decision. They came out and they said, nope, if you pretend to slide, you're going to be called down right there. They might even have to go to a review because maybe he's tripping or something and it's not a slide. I don't know how it exactly work, but they said if you go to initiate a slide, that's it, you're down. I think that's the absolute right call. You're going to end up getting someone murked if you don't change that rule, and I'm glad they did. Let me see here. This was an interesting fun fact. So the LeBron James has 65 Player of the Week awards. They started that in 1979. I think was the first year they had Player of the Week for East and Western Conference. LeBron has 65 Player of the Week. He's had 4 since joining the Lakers. Jordan has 25, which is crazy to me. The difference in that is just absurd. But that's just a little fun fact. The Lakers, I guess it's come out recently that they've had internal talks about trading Russell Westbrook. I don't think that's the move. Personally, I think we know it's not a great fit, but Russ takes time in each of his last 3 teams he's been on. It takes a couple months to him get going. I think his play style clashes, obviously, but LeBron being out of the lineup, Anthony Davis apparently forgetting that he's supposed to be really good at this basketball thing. I think those things have been more detrimental than Russell Westbrook's play. I think it's been bad, but he gets a lot of unnecessary blame. I don't think trading him's the move unless you can get, Buddy Hield, or if you can get Dame, which would be impossible. But according one of the reports was they're interested in Ben Simmons. If you can trade Russ for Ben Simmons, I think that's a good fit because Ben Simmons basically is a better Russell Westbrook at this point in his career. Russ can't shoot, and neither can Ben. However, Ben does do the other thing Russ doesn't really do well, which is play defense. Ben Simmons is probably a top 5 defender in the NBA, especially on ball. He's 6'10", super athletic. So I think we talked about this in the summer when they were talking about getting Russ, is who would be a better fit for the Lakers. I think Ben Simmons. He passes better, meaning he's a better passer, but also he doesn't turn the ball over as much. He plays great defense, which is currently what the Lakers don't do very well, is they don't play defense. And obviously they don't shoot, but again, Russ doesn't shoot. So Russ is 2 negatives where he's 3 negatives. He turns the ball over too much, he doesn't shoot, and he can't play defense. Ben Simmons is only a -1 where he doesn't shoot. However, he can still drive to the basket. He's still 6'10". He's a great defender. He's a super good passer. He doesn't need the ball in his hand. So I think he would be a better fit. He doesn't space the floor, but fuck. You put Anthony Davis at 5 and you put Ben Simmons at power forward, or shit, Ben Simmons can guard some centers. Put Ben Simmons at the 5 and put AD back at the 4. When he comes back, he is going to be out a month with a knee injury. But I think that would be the play. Other than that, you're not going to get Russ for anything. But the Sixers might be desperate enough. Maybe you say trade Russ and like Austin Reeves or something, and get Ben Simmons out of there. They get the MVP caliber candidate they want. It won't happen because fucking Embiid wouldn't want to play with Russ anyway. But I just thought it was interesting. Maybe you can get Ben Simmons, but you probably might have to give up Malik Monk too. And I kind of want to keep him because he's a good scorer off the bench, and that's, again, things were lacking. So Steph broke the 3-point record for all-time threes. He did it in 511 less games than Ray Allen, which is fucking bananas. The amount of the volume with which he shoots and the efficiency with which he makes them is absolutely insane. We've been saying, not we as in me and my co-host, Mr. Corey, but we as in the collective basketball fandom has been calling him the greatest shooter of all time for years now. I think that since he won his unanimous MVP and made 402 threes that season, he's the greatest shooter of all time. And he got off to a slow start. I don't know, most people don't remember, but he was plagued with ankle injuries for the first 3 years. That's why his ankle injuries, they didn't sign him to the biggest max contract they could. They gave him a smaller deal because he was hurt all the time, which then opened the door for years later for them to be able to sign Kevin Durant because he wasn't eating up all the salary cap space. It is a crazy turn of events. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. He broke the record. Now, he did it in 784 games. Like I said, 511 games faster. Here's the thing. Some people, like Chris Broussard, was like, it's not that important of a record. Here's my thing. How do you say that? Because Steph has more threes combined than KD and Kyrie, and less shots attempted from 3 than James Harden, which mostly is a shot at James Harden because that motherfucker is like 5, but he's taken more threes than Steph Curry, who's number 1, which is insane, and he's played less time than Steph, which is insane to me. Let me see. I've got there's a couple more really cool stats for Steph. Let me see if I got them. Right here. Okay, so most threes in a season. Ray Allen was 269. The previous record was 269 by Ray Allen. Steph had 402, like I mentioned earlier. Most threes, most games with 10 plus 3-pointers. JR has 3. Steph has 22. That didn't make fucking sense. Most threes from 27 plus feet, which is basically considered a long range 3. I didn't know Kobe Bryant 211. First of all, I didn't know Kobe was hitting him from that far. I knew he took a lot, but I didn't think he hit him from there. And Steph Curry has 703, so more than 3 times him. Most seasons leading the NBA in 3-pointers made. Ray Allen has 3. Steph Curry has 7. He's just gonna keep doing it. Most seasons averaging 5 or more made threes a game. No other player in NBA history has done it. Steph Curry has 4. He's the greatest shooter of all time. I think if someone... So Nick Wright was explaining the math on this, and he said if somebody comes into the NBA and makes 300 threes a year, it'll take 20 years. Or 250 maybe. If they make 250 threes, it'll take 20 years. If they do 300, it'll only take 15. But Steph Curry, Dame, and maybe James Harden are the only players with 3 seasons with more than 300, and nobody's done it with 400 threes except Steph. It's just not a record we're gonna see. And the guys that are currently in the NBA just aren't gonna play. They're not gonna be able to play enough games because Steph broke the record, and he has 511 games left. Right. So let me check my math really quick. 511 games. He's making 5 a game. So let's say he makes 5 a game on average. You know, it could go to 4. Maybe he averages 5.5 one year or whatever. I'll tell you what, we'll give him averaging made 4 threes a game, even though he's done that multiple times. We'll just give him 5. So Steph Curry plays at least as many games as Ray Allen did, which is 1,300. That means he will have 2,555 more made threes on top of his 209. I think it was 2,974. So if he keeps this pace up, he will finish his career with 5,529 threes. It's not going to happen. Nobody's breaking that record for a long time. The 3-point record will go down like Chamberlain's scoring record, which is going to end up being LeBron's scoring record. It's going to hold up for eternity, and it's going to be a big deal the next time if someone breaks it. It's going to be a long time before we see that happen. But shouts to Steph. I know I trash talk on a lot, but mostly that's because of the rivalry with LeBron James. I did want to talk about Anthony Davis real quick. He's been kind of shit this year. And I know we've talked about it, him not playing up to his potential, but boy, is he not playing up to his potential. So he is shooting 16.7% on threes, which is the worst in NBA history by any player with 2 or more attempts per game. Through 20 games played, he's been atrocious. He's 38% on mid-range, which is the worst by any NBA player this season with over 100 attempts. That was what used to be his bread and butter. He's 6'10". He has good form. He's supposed to be really good at that, but I don't know if his legs are hurting from maybe the groin. Now he's got a knee injury. Maybe he just can't get the elevation he's used to. It looks like his effort is super low. Maybe he's sick. Maybe, I don't know. I know he was battling the stomach bug a couple weeks ago, maybe months ago now. But he's just not playing the way we saw him play in the bubble just last year. I mean, a calendar year and some change. They won the 2020 championship in October. So it's only just a year ago, and now he looks like a totally different player. I don't know if he's hurt, but he has been terrible. He's also 33% on jump shots, which is the worst by any player in the NBA with over 150 attempts. So he has been shooting terrible. And he just keeps shooting, which isn't helping. So hopefully maybe he can get his mind right. He's going to be gone for at least 4 weeks. It's not going to be beneficial to the Lakers in any way because obviously they can't have anybody else missing time. LeBron and Russ. We thought Russ was going to miss time because of COVID, but he ended up testing out of it, which is odd because he tested out of it faster than LeBron did, and LeBron didn't actually have it. So but yeah, so Anthony Davis has been just sad. All right, so I'm going to run through some bullshit Skip Bayless says real quick. And then I'll probably wrap it up because, like I said, I just want to get some content out there for you. Both Skip Bayless says, so Skip said just last week, you said if LeBron and KD switch places in 2018, that KD, not 2016, 2017, when Kyrie was still there. Skip says that KD, Kyrie, Kevin Love, and that Cavs team would beat LeBron James, Steph Curry, and that Warriors team. He said if you flipped them, Kevin Durant would still win. That's one of the worst takes I've ever heard in my life. There's no way because Kevin Durant fits a system because he can just score. Like, he can catch the ball and score. There's not time wasted. He's not standing there with his back to the basket. He doesn't have to have the ball in his hand. But he's also not a very good passer. He's not as good a defender as LeBron. The only thing he does better is shoot. And even then, it's barely better. And there's, like, the efficiency. LeBron surrounded with that level of shooting, it's unfair. The Warriors would sweep the Cavs just like the Warriors did. LeBron and the Warriors would sweep just like Kevin Durant and the Warriors did. They would stand no chance. Plus, KD doesn't elevate people like that. And the rest of that Cavs team was dog water outside of Kyrie and Kevin Love. So, Skip says player of the week doesn't matter because does it win you championships? And my argument would be do scoring titles, and actually, technically, I guess, kind of, not really. I think the scoring title, like the scoring champ, has only won the title 12 times out of 100 years of NBA basketball, 75 years of NBA basketball. So generally speaking, being the scoring champ doesn't directly relate to championships either. Jordan does happen to have 6 championships when he was the scoring champ, but he also has 4 seasons of the scoring champ where he didn't win the title. So, whatever. Moving on before I get too lost. So Tom Brady has 500 at the time of me writing these notes down, Tom Brady has 554 passing attempts this season, and Derek Carr has 496. So Brady has 58 more attempts, which is about 2 full games of passing attempts more than Derek Carr, who's in second place in yards, and he's only got 195 yards more passing than Derek Carr. 2 full games worth of attempts, less than 200 yards of distance between him and second place. What I'm just pointing out here is that Tom Brady throws the ball significantly more than anybody else in the NFL for not a whole lot of yards. More. Like he's leading the NFL in passing yards, but he also leads it in attempts, so that's how it should be. However, he's this close to leading in attempts and not leading in yards, which is embarrassing. Let me see here. Kevin Durant goes over 5 in the fourth quarter of a game against, I believe it was the Toronto, just this week. He was over 5 in the fourth quarter. He scored 2 points, and they lost they're losing in the fourth quarter to Toronto. Patty Mills hits a game-tying 3 to go to overtime. Skip says, well, Kevin Durant was just money in overtime. Except he glosses over the fact that he was shit in the fourth quarter. And then literally days later, LeBron James doesn't play well in the fourth quarter. It gets to overtime. LeBron plays well. But he says he does the opposite. And I was just pointing out that he does the opposite here. Skip said Kevin Durant is on his way to being the best player since Michael Jordan. I'm trying to figure out where he gets that because Kevin Durant has 2 titles, both of which everyone is like, yeah, but you joined a team that was going to be impossible for you guys to lose anyway. And so, does he have 2 titles? I mean, he has 2 titles on his resume, but nobody gives him a whole lot of credit. He doesn't play defense as well as Jordan. He's not as consistent. He's kind of, I don't know. I just don't see, unless you think his next 6 years, we'll give him 7 years, ends up with 5 titles. I just don't see how you can even possibly say that, but whatever. Let me see here. He says, Skip was talking about essentially how the Lakers have no signature wins on their record. I mean, they're playing like shit, so it doesn't matter. They're 500, they keep losing to shit teams and they don't beat any good teams and blah, blah, blah. And how could they possibly win a title this year? I don't think they will, but he's going on all right. My thing is, he's talking all this shit about the Lakers. The Nets are number 1 in the East. However, the only teams they've beaten have losing records. All 8 of their losses, they might have 9 losses now, but all 8 of their losses came against the other teams with winning records. The Bulls, the Bucks, the Suns, the Warriors, all the good teams, the Nets lose to the good teams and beat the bad teams. The difference between the Nets and the Lakers is that the Lakers lose to the bad teams. That's the only difference. But we gloss over that for storytelling reasons, I guess. Last thing before I go, so Thursday night was a good game between the Chargers and the Chiefs. It did end up going to overtime. It was a great game. With, I think it was 10 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, the Chargers went up 21-13. The Mahomes gets the ball, drives down, gets a 2-point conversion, ties it up 21-21. Herbert gets the ball back, drives down the field, scores a touchdown, 28 points. Mahomes gets the ball back, drives him right back down again, ties it, the game goes into overtime. Mahomes throws a little dump off to Kelsey, who takes, I think, 34 or 40 yards into the end zone, ends the game. It was an awesome game. Mahomes had 410 yards passing, 1 interception, which was a tip ball. He was trying to throw a screen pass. The defensive lineman made a great play, tipping it up in the air and intercepting himself. It was a great play by the defensive lineman. Not a bad throw by Mahomes. But Skip gave him a C+ for that performance because he had 2 bad throws. The interception, I guess you can call it a bad throw because he didn't get it over the defensive lineman. I would say it was more of a great play by him, but whatever. And he also said but the other bad throw was 4th and goal on the 1 yard line. The Chiefs are getting ready to go in to score, and it's a quick fire pass. So McCole Hardman's in motion out to the left. Mahomes snaps the ball and doesn't get the laces, and he throws it and it slips out of his hand, goes straight into the dirt. It's kind of an embarrassing pass, but again, 2 bad throws, gives him a C+, even though he had 410 yards of offense and 3 touchdowns. He gives him a C+, because most of his yards, Skip was complaining about, most of his yards came after the catch. Tom Brady against the Bills just last week, he had 363 yards passing. 234 of those yards came after the catch, which is good for 65% of his yards came after the catch. Skip gives him credit for that. I'm not sure how. In the Super Bowl, just this last Super Bowl against the Chiefs, he had 71 air yards. 71 air yards, and I believe it was 210 yards total. So essentially all his yards came after the catch then too. But it's okay when Brady does it and not when Mahomes does it. I forgot. But anyway, like I said, I don't really have a whole lot extra, I don't think. Oh, that's not true. I do want to talk about 2 other things real quick. There's a new Star Wars game in production. It's called Star Wars Eclipse. The trailer looks awesome. It's a High Republic game, which means it takes place about 200 years before the Phantom Menace, or at least at some point before the Phantom Menace, which is known as the High Republic. It looks really cool. I'm super excited to play it. But reports are that it's obviously still in very, very early development. They just got a cinematic trailer. There's no gameplay or anything in it. And they're having a hard time filling out the staff to actually make the game. So hopefully it gets worked on generally. If Lucasfilm has a track record of putting out stuff that they're going to do and then not doing that. So hopefully this doesn't fall in that category. That would be pretty sad. The other thing was I'm really excited about Bleach is coming back. The Bleach anime is going to come back in, I believe, October of next year. They're doing the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. Super good arc. I read the whole manga. The manga's been out, like the manga's been over for some time now, but the 1,000-Year Blood War arc wasn't animated. They stopped after the Aizen arc. Spoilers. And so it's good that we're gonna have Bleach back. I can't wait. I'm super excited. Freaking Attack on Titan comes back in January. I'm super excited for that. I want to have Tony on the podcast. He's busy tonight, otherwise he would have been here with me. But gotta have Tony on the podcast because we're gonna talk Attack on Titan. We're gonna talk predictions. I've read the manga and I know how it ends, so I'm gonna have Corey and Tony predict to me what they think's gonna happen. We're gonna go over some stuff like that. It's gonna be a really good time. Come out for that. And I think there was one more thing. Oh, the Dragon Ball Super Superhero movie dropped a new trailer at Jump Festa yesterday. It looks awesome. I don't love the animation style. It's not drawn. It's CGI. At least all of the parts we've been shown are CGI. So I'm not sure exactly how to feel. It looks good, but it doesn't look like Dragon Ball Z to me. Obviously, it doesn't look like Dragon Ball Z, but it doesn't even look like Super because Super's drawn too. But I'm excited for it. It looks like it's going to be a Red Ribbon Army-based bad guys. The Red Ribbon Army is going to be the bad guys. And what most people are excited about is Gohan is fighting. He looks... I don't know if he's been training. I wouldn't say that. I mean, he has to have been training because I'm assuming it takes place after the Tournament of Power, which he trained for. So, but they show him in his purple Piccolo gi. He powers up into Super Saiyan, and it looks like the trailer cuts as he's powering up again. Maybe he goes Super Saiyan 2. Maybe he goes... I think it's going to be his Ultimate Gohan or Mystic Gohan form because there's a statue, the poster, and there's a statue where his hair is spiked up like he's in Super Saiyan, but it's black, so I think it's going to be his mystic form. But anyway, it comes out, I believe, in Japan in April, so very excited to see that movie. It looks like it's going to be awesome. And so we talked about, last point. I know I'm jumping around here, but the Star Wars Visions, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We watched all the episodes and kind of gave a rating and a grade on all of those. But one of the ones we liked the best was the Ronin, I believe is what it was called. Let me see if I still got my notes in here for it. Do I have Visions notes anywhere? Visions. Episode 1 was The Duel. Not Ronin, but The Duel. So that was the one where it was a black and white anime. It was like a feudal Japan where the bad guy's a samurai and he's like walking through town, and like it's a really good episode. If you haven't seen it, go watch episode 1. It's called The Duel. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, and we talked about it that day. We were like, man, I would love more of him, more of what that style is, right? And because he's a Sith. but then he like draws a lightsaber and says, "I'm no Sith" or whatever, or "I'm no Jedi." The bad person is like, "I haven't fought a Jedi in a long time." He's like, "I'm no Jedi," and he pulls out his katana lightsaber and it's red, and it was super well done. But anyway, I was at Walmart today, and they have a book about that guy and about that time period. So I'm really excited to read it. It's called Ronin. It's based on the Visions episode, so I'm super excited. Hopefully it's good and there's more to it. There's a lot of books coming out that I haven't read yet, so I'm excited to get to those. But anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me for a little bit. Just want to get some content out there. You guys can come back to this episode later. Hopefully next week we'll be back to probably not actually, now that I think about it, because next week is Christmas. That is part of the reason I want to get it out, because if we didn't do anything today, it was going to be like 6 weeks since we had an episode, and that's just too long, I felt like, to not talk to you guys. So anyway, thanks for coming and hanging out with me. It's a shorter episode, probably the shortest episode we've ever done. I think the shortest one before this was actually episode 1, which was 59 minutes. So you're witnessing a record here on the Flex and Nerd podcast. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a good holiday. Have a happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad. That's the same thing. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. All that. Enjoy your holidays. Be safe.